Good morning. Hello. Welcome to 365 Days Live with New. If you are logging in, tuning in for the first time, say hello. Let me know in the comments if you're watching live. Let me know if you're catching the replay. I would love to say hi to you. And as the title says, well, I actually forgot what I said the title was, but today I am actually finally sharing that story that I've been wanting to share since last week. Okay, so if you're logging in and catching me for the first time, my name is Nu Vang. I am a human design coach and reader, as well as a life coach to help empower women. But of course, you don't have to be a woman or identify as one. But I just really love empowering women to become the best version of themselves, to become emotionally resilient, to build up love and acceptance and trust in themselves so that they can go out there and create change, go for the life of their dreams, and to impact the people that they're meant to impact. So that's a little bit about me. If this is your first time catching me live or on the replay, I wanted to show a little bit of, do a little introduction first before I continue with the live for today. So today's going to be a vulnerable story of choosing and going with my intuition that doesn't make logical sense. So I say that because this is actually not the first time that I've chosen and decided to do something that did not make logical sense, and I was so scared. Hi Tina, welcome. Yeah, so today's the 14th day of my live challenge, and I think today's is the most scary in terms of nervousness of what I'm going to share, just because when we share things that are a little bit more vulnerable, the ego kicks in, right? The ego of like, what are people going to think? If people are going to judge, if people are going to understand. There's all these questions that come through. Hi. That come through into our logical mind, and a lot of times it stops us from going and sharing and doing oh hi Tina. Tina said, so glad I'm catching this live. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I have a live person, so this is going to be amazing. So thank you for catching it live, Tina. I'm going to be sharing something that I've been saying I was going to share for the past week, because last week I had a really tough time making a decision that was very pivotal for 2025. So I'm going to share it today. And I'm just kind of front loading and sharing why sharing things like this is scary and vulnerable, and it makes us not want to do it because of the judgment that we may receive from other people. And the reality is that in life, not everyone's going to understand you, and not everyone is going to have the same experience. And I love what one of my mentors say is that she allows multiple truths to coexist at once. And I love it when she says that, because that just is so, it rings so true, and it's so powerful. And it's like, yeah, like my truth doesn't have to be your truth. Your truth doesn't have to be somebody else's truth, right? Our truths can coexist, and it doesn't make me wrong and it doesn't make you wrong. So I like to do a little prepping, just because I know that everyone who catches this live may or may not know me, my background, and so, but I do believe that we are here to be the fullest expression of ourselves. And this is just for me personally, how I feel most aligned to share in the moment in terms of my experience. And I do believe in sharing experiences that are live and raw and authentic for me in the moment. So this is, yeah, so that is my little disclaimer or something I like to share before I share their story. So it's going to be a little bit of story time. So if you're ready for it, here we go. So I'm going to take you back to back in like August of last year. Okay, so of 2024. And that was when I just recently came back from Thailand. And my fiance, not fiance at that time, but my partner and I have been talking about moving out. Okay, we've been talking about moving out and living on our own again, because we did live on our own before we moved in with his parents. So we did talk about that. But then I went to Thailand last year for 2 months. So when I came back, again, there was talk about moving out, but like the timing just wasn't quite right. We went to look at places in Sacramento, in Northern California, and we just weren't, the prices weren't right, the timing wasn't right, so we waited, right? We waited it out. And as I was waiting, I felt my soul nudge me even more and more, because my soul has been nudging me for the past 2 years that I needed to go out. I needed to be in a different energy and a different space. Not that where I wasn't healthy and safe and good and comfortable. It was so amazing, and that's why we stayed there for so long. But it was like my soul was ready to do more, right? Like that calling was calling me. And so in August I was like, okay, like we'll wait, right? We'll wait for the right situation, or the right apartment to come around. So we waited, we did go out, look at different places, and I guess instead of just communicating to my fiance that it was just my soul knowing, I did communicate that, but at the same time, I kept reassuring him and saying like, hey, like once we move, because there was this part of me that was in fear that like we might not move, right? And that was like, that fear part of me kept speaking out. And that fear part of me kept saying, kept telling my partner, hey, like, don't worry, when we move out, I'm going to get a part-time job. I'm going to make sure that we're financially okay. And I'm going to help you financially, right? Because I haven't been working consistently over the past 3 years. So I kept reassuring him that, and he was all on board. He was like, oh, great, that's wonderful. You don't have to work, but like when we move, if you want to work, you can. And so I kept telling him, yeah, no, like I think I want to work. And so that was one piece of the decisions that was going into us moving out. And so in November, when we were like, okay, the year was coming to an end, and I was, again, that fear in me that I like had half fear and half faith, because I was like, okay, I have faith that the right place and God will take us to where we need to be. But then half of me is like fearful of, oh, what if I don't do something, right? If I don't physically do something within my control to make this situation happen, then I might not be able to move out, and then my business won't be able to grow and expand, etc. So November came around, and I was like, I told my partner, okay, we need to make a plan. We need to create a deadline for when we're going to move out. So we created the deadline for December 15, like the middle of December. And so we did that, and then we went out and found the place that we are at now, and we did all the good stuff, we signed the lease, we figured out all the moving stuff, and fast forward to, yeah, so we moved end of November. And that was when I was like hinting at you all that I was, it's finally happening. It was been like 2 years in the making, and yeah, so we moved, and I love our new place, and like it was like the holidays, so there was Thanksgiving, and we had family over, we had a housewarming, and then this year Robert and I, my fiance and I, we hosted Christmas, and it was just like really crazy. But the wild thing is that on top of all of this, there was that fear voice in the background, the same one that said, hey, you were gonna work, you said you were gonna work if you guys moved. And so that part of me kept nudging me and kept making me feel guilty for not having found a job. And so I was like, so in December, I was low key looking for jobs. Okay, so I was looking for jobs, doing part time, looking at part time jobs, full time jobs. And then I eventually, hello, if you're joining me live, say hello in the comments so I can say hello back. I'm in the middle of this, my little story. So if you missed it, just go back after the live ends. You can catch the beginning. Yeah, so I was low key looking for jobs, and I wasn't telling my partner. Okay, at this point, I was just like doing it on my own because I was like, okay, I promised in my head, I promised him that I would find a job once we moved, and we have moved, and Christmas and all that stuff was going on, but I was looking for jobs, and then but energetically, here's the thing though, energetically, I was feeling like this is not the time for you to find a job. This is not the time for you to look for that part-time job. And it was like my soul was saying, like, we need time. We finally have the space that we have been craving for 2+ years, and it's finally happening. And in a sense, I was gonna just sabotage it all over again by finding a job. I did not understand that 2 months back, okay? So, or 1 month ago. Yes, 1 month ago. Ooh, excuse me. And so I was looking for jobs, and then I had a conversation, like, because I had this feeling that, oh, like, I'm not supposed to work right now. And so I spoke to my partner one night, and again, my partner is not in the personal growth development world. He believes in God, but he's not in the field that I am in terms of coaching and personal growth and development, evolution and healing and all that stuff, right? And I spoke to him and I told him, but from a place, I think it was more from a place of asking for permission rather than telling him that, hey, this is my soul's nudge, this is my soul's guidance, and I need this. It didn't come from a place of conviction. So what I said to him in a summary is that, hey, like, is it okay if I don't want to be working on my business, like rebuilding my business in a sense, because last year I took a whole year off. I didn't want to be starting my business while starting a new part-time job. Doing two things, my energy would not do well being split. And I shared that with him, but it came from a place of guilt and asking for permission. And my partner at first, he didn't really understand where I was coming from, so he did not respond in the way that my ego wanted him to respond. And so I took that as, no, like, it's not okay for you to do that. Why can't you just, like, and he didn't say any of this, but this was like how I interpreted it, right? Because that's what really matters. It's how you interpret things at the end of the day. So he said, so in my mind, I saw that as, no, you have to, you promised, or you said you would work if we found a place. So do what you said you were going to do. That was how I interpreted it. And so when I took that in, and I felt guilty. I was like, okay, I guess, I need to live up to my words. I need to do what I was going to say. However, if you go back to what I said at the beginning of, like, that decision to work once we move came from a place of fear. Okay, it came from a place of, this might not happen, so let me do this. Let me manipulate the situation so that I can get what I want. Okay, so it came from that place. So fast forward to like after we moved and I've settled down and I've listened to my soul's guidance, it was like, no, like it's not allowing for you to go work right now. And, intuition doesn't make sense. Like if you have been practicing following your intuition and listening to your intuition, it doesn't make sense. It never makes sense. When it makes sense, that means it's logical. Okay, so I've always followed my mind and the logical way of doing things. I'm assuming you have for a majority of your life as well, unless you're really, really unique and special and you've just been gifted with the opportunity to have followed your intuition your whole life. But yeah, so again, I'm bringing the story back to, okay, so now I feel like I have to work, right? So that was when I took on that's when I applied, and that's when I applied for a substituting job, went and got my fingerprint done, got clearance, did the trainings, and was hired on as a sub, all in 1 week. Okay, that is the manifesting generator power within me. Like once I am committed and I have a defined ego as well, a defined will, once I have committed to something, it just happens so fast. And so I can really do a lot. And once I set my intention on something, but again, the theme is I did it from a place of scarcity. I did it from a place of fear. So I did all of that. And then I told my fiance, I was like, hey, like I did this, and that. There's lots of people running on this and walking on this trail. So I told him that I did all of that, and he's like, wow, like I told you that you didn't need to go do. He actually said, if I feel like a job is not right for me or not right now, he wants me to follow how I feel. But me being stubborn, I was like, no, you wanted me to work, so I'm gonna go work. And so that's why I like became the sub, and like I even went to work in December. And the thing is, throughout this whole time, I felt the resistance the whole time. That's the key. It's like I was doing things that I knew was going against my soul's desire, my soul's like next aligned step, but I was doing it from a place of ego to prove my ego right. So, um, if you're still following the story, it's going somewhere. So I went to work, and then when I came back, um, and being a sub, you can sub and it's flexible, right? And so I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think I was like, okay, let me find another job, right? Like at this point, if you're listening to me, you're like, that girl is nuts. Like, why is she going to find another job, a second job? Like, I already have my business. Then I took on the substituting job, and now I'm gonna actually go find a third job. A little crazy much. um, I'm crossing underneath the bridge. Might be a little bit loud. Hopefully, I have service. Oh, hopefully you can still hear me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I know I only have 2 bars down here. This is the life. This is the life of wanting to do lives when you're going on a walk. So let me hold on a little bit. Okay, okay. If you're watching me live, can you let me know if you can still see me and hear me? Okay, I just got out of the tunnel. Okay, okay. I think the signal is back, being okay. Okay, so yes, I'm at the place where I'm kind of being a little over the top, a little extreme. Hello, Gate of Extremes. And so I started looking for a third job, and I was actually, yeah, and it was all being pressured from a place of I need to do more. I need to do more. The old patterns conditioning came up, so I started looking. I started looking for a third job, and I looked at a job at a. Oh, thank you, Tina. You can hear me. Yeah, so I looked for a job at a kids kinder care, and then I looked for another job at across from where I live. There is a In Shape Fitness, so I applied. I actually applied there to the In Shape, and a week later, I get an email from In Shape, and they say that hey, like, um, we want to call you for an interview, and so I did the interview. I did the phone interview, and then I went in for the interview, and then I got accepted for the interview. I got accepted for the job. Okay, and the crazy thing is, I accepted the job. Like I wrote back, I accepted it. I did the paperwork to be onboarded, and then they sent me the live scan stuff to do. Okay, and this is where it gets a little crazy. Um, but while I was doing all of this stuff, I was experiencing a lot of resistance and feelings of bitterness and frustration and misalignment. Okay, and in my head, logically, I was like, well, this is all really good and healthy for my finances and to support the life that I am now able to live, because now we've moved out and we have our own place and we have rent to pay, right? I just logicalized everything, and I was like, okay, like, yeah, this is a great decision. Like, logically, it makes sense. I should be working three jobs. And so that was that. But then there was this part of me, this like quiet part of me was like, no, like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. Like, hello, hello. Like, I can imagine her, like my intuitive self over here, be like, hello, hello. Like, do you not hear me? Have you not been seeing me and hearing me for the past 2+ years? That we need this space and this energetic space, physical space for you to build this beautiful business of yours that you're meant to lead. And so I I I was going through so much internally at this point, and I was so exhausted from going and decide trying to think in my mind what to do. And so the last step was for me to go get a live scan, and that would complete my onboarding, and I would be able to start my job, right? And so it was last week. That was last week. And I just felt that it wasn't right. And I can't tell you, I can't explain it. And that's the thing. Intuition, you can't explain. It's just a feeling. And also, I have a sacral authority. So my sacral, my gut was just like, no, like it's like a big X, right? And so I was just like so scared. I was just so scared of like, I've committed this far. Again, if you've been listening to my story for the past however 20 minutes that I've been speaking and telling you the story, like, I've done so much already, right? There's that sink cost fallacy where people feel like because they've invested so much energy into something already that they need to continue. And I kind of felt like that. I was like, oh, well, I already went through this interview. I already talked to this lady. I already worked this and with it, work the schedule around. I already did this and that, and I already told all these people that I was gonna work there, and then blah blah blah. And now I'm gonna change my mind. You know, like, am I allowed to do that? That that's literally like the question that I was like, am I allowed to do that? Like, am I allowed to just change my mind? Am I allowed to say like, never mind? I was functioning from my ego, and I am going to change my mind and follow my intuition. Like, that makes no sense. And so, even though I knew what was right for me, I was scared. I was so scared to tell my fiance. I was so scared to of feeling judged when people found out that, hey, like, I am listening to my intuition and not doing the logical thing. But I think that makes sense. But you know, my higher self knew that my fiance was going to be understanding and that he loves me no matter what, whether I work or not. And I'm just so grateful for that. And so the thing that actually, and mind you, like, I'm someone who needs to talk things out. So at this point, I've like talked about it with my fiance. I've talked about it with my sister a lot, and I've talked about it with my friends. And I'm like, I talked about it, journaled about it, just talked about it out loud with friends and friends, peers, like so many. And I came to the root, and the thing that broke it for me, that helped me commit to it, was that Wednesday morning. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday morning. Yeah, I woke up. Oh, Tuesday night. So the story's coming to an end. So thank you so much if you're still listening. Um, the It was Tuesday night that I laid in bed and I prayed and I was like, God, universe, um, like please guide me on making the decision. Show me what is right. Show me and give me guidance and clarity. And that was what I did before I went to sleep Tuesday night. Woke up Wednesday morning, went over to the couch. I had my Bible there, opened my Bible to the daily letter that I have. I usually read a page a day at least. And I read that passage, and what I read was so beautiful. It was exactly the sign that I needed. It was like a sign, basically. It was exactly what I needed to hear, which was around money and how money doesn't make you doesn't help you feel purposeful in life. Money doesn't prove your worth or your value, and um, something along those lines. But it wasn't what it said only. It was combined with how it made me feel when I read the passage, and it spoke to me. And I was like, it gave me like this peace in my body, this, this like the burden to make the quote unquote right decision was lifted, because I felt like, yeah, this is the answer. Like I prayed last night, and just the next morning, like my prayers were answered, and it was right there and then that I knew, and I would quote unquote was given permission um to pick my intuition. So I picked my intuition. I wrote to InShape, and I told them that I am no longer accepting the position. And I wrote to my partner and I shared with him my decision. I told my sister my decision, and that was the biggest leap of faith that I have had to take in a long time. The faith to trust in something that is unknown rather than to trust in something that is for sure, which is me taking that job and making some side income while I build my business. So I took that leap of faith. And what makes it so beautiful still is that even after a week has passed, almost a week, I still feel at peace with that decision that I made. And that is such a sign, or like a sign that the decision I made was right for me. And like, it was also evidence that I am really leaning into the faith muscle of believing and trusting that the decision I made was right. I this doesn't happen. Usually I go back into my mind and I try to make sure that I made the right decision. But I think this is like the first time in my life where I just felt so peaceful afterwards. I felt so free, so light. I felt so good in what I was doing, and like just going live every day and sharing with you, and doing what I love and fulfilling myself while still giving value to the world and making, however much money I'm making. Like, that's just a bonus. And I am lucky enough and blessed enough to say that like it's a bonus, because I know there are not a lot of people out there that can have that luxury to not work a full-time job or even a part-time job. So I know and I'm aware of all the blessings I do have. Um, and so yeah, I just feel really good about that decision, and that was because I was able to calm down that fear side of me, that ego part of me, and trust into my intuition, trust in what I can't see, and trust that I'm being called to do this work for a reason, and that reason I don't know yet, and that I'm okay with that. And that's scary. That is so scary. So I just wanted to share that with you because you may be experiencing those types of things in your life, and maybe you don't have anybody who understands what that's like, because I feel like I don't have that many people who will understand the story I just told you, because they don't live in that world. They live in a world where things have to make sense. It's all about survival. It's all about doing what you can to survive. And I know survival is a big, important part. Obviously, we all need to survive, but sometimes we do it to the extreme where we're no longer like fighting for survival, but we feel like we are. So if I want to share this story, this vulnerable story, because I know that there are those of you out there that needs to hear this kind of stuff, that sometimes it's okay to do something that doesn't make logical sense, something that feels right in your heart. And I know that is not yet the accepted way of doing things. The accepted way so far has been doesn't make sense, right? And of course people are going to judge you. Of course people are going to have their opinions. Of course people are going to um, tell you what they think you should do. And that is when you have to be so strong in your own conviction, be so strong in your connection to your purpose, to your being, to God, to source, the universe, and be able to stand true, stand strong in your truth. And that is a big part of what I love helping people do. Is I don't think that we were born on this earth to suffer, to not enjoy life. And that is why slow connection. Okay. I'm hoping this is better connection. But I was saying, I don't believe that we were born to suffer and not have a good experience here on earth. And I'm such a cheerleader and someone who believes strongly in everybody's individual journey, their individual calling, their individual purpose. And I am here to help you live yours in whatever way is most aligned to you and your intuition and your purpose, because mine is just my own and your story is your own. And sometimes we just need people who are living their truth to walk with us on our journey. So I really hope that story, any part of that story, of my story, is helpful for you in your journey and whatever you're experiencing. If you have experienced something similar in the past, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. And I did share this at the beginning, but when I left my teaching job, a very similar thing happened where I was doing things out of ego, out of fear, out of survival for the longest time, up to the very last minute, literally the day before school started, that I quit my job and I left. So it was scary. It was not logical. It did not make sense. I did not have a plan for the future, but I still did it anyway because that was what felt right in my heart. So yeah, I thank you for watching and listening to my story. I know that I will come back to this story in the future and just be so proud of this version of myself that, was able to be brave and courageous and to move from faith, move from my soul's nudge, my soul's guidance, and brave that, she was able to share it with the world and have compassion and love for herself and still stand in her truth and allow multiple truths to coexist. All right, that is it for oh, Tina says everything is so relatable. That's amazing. I love that. I'm glad that you were able to relate, and I would love to, whatever you would like to share with me in the comments of specific scenarios that you have went through. I would love to hear. Thank you for being so vulnerable and transparent. Of course, I feel like that's part of my purpose. That is really what I feel, because no matter how hard I try to not be, it's just kind of like, it's who I am. And so thank you for noticing that. It's so healing when people are vulnerable and transparent, because that's what I feel like we are here to be. We are here to be the fullest expression of ourselves, the fullest, raw, authentic expression of ourselves. So thank you, Tina, and thank you for those who will be tuning into the replay. I really would love to hear what you have your comments on the story, what you're going through in your own life. And again, if you are looking for a mentor or a coach that is able to, just do life with, right? To have someone walk next to you, send me a message and we can chat. And until next time, have a beautiful rest of your day. I was able to do my live nice and early today, so I am really happy about that. As you can see, this whole time I've been walking on this beautiful trail, so I'm going to continue to enjoy that. And I will see you tomorrow for the next day of my challenge. All right, thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.